Bam. Bam. How are you? How are you? It's Sunday night, August 14th, 2022. I've got a bug flying around and it's irritating. I don't understand how they always end up flying around here, but they do. For those of you who don't know me, who are wondering why I'm talking about a bug flying around and what that has to do with real estate, I don't know. I guess other than I'm doing a live stream and it's flying around. But anyway, my name is John Schenk. I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential brokerage. We mainly help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. That's what we do. I do some commercial. If somebody were to ask, hey, can you help me with the lease? Yeah, I can help you. I can do that. But the channel, Deerwood Realty, has a lot of stuff. We have the regular videos, we have the shorts, and now we have the live stream. And we've had the live stream for a while. And on the live stream, we talk about real estate news. I provide real estate commentary, and that's what I do. Now, if that's something that sounds like it would be interesting to you, there are people that actually like to talk about real estate all the time, and I'm one of them. You should probably subscribe. Subscribe first, ask questions later. That's the way to do it. Just on a side note, a lot of times I've noticed, you can plan a long time for things. You can spend all day planning, but you could also spend all day doing. And that's the kind of person I am. I like to get things done. I like to do them, and I don't like to plan too much. So you shouldn't either. You should just hit the subscribe button, and then you don't have to worry about it down the road. You're already subscribed. And do I expect you to watch every single live stream? No. In fact, I know I have too much content already for you. But stop in every once in a while. If you have a real estate question, if you have a real estate comment, you should put it in the comment section. But you could also just chat with me. I mean, I'm here live, and we can just talk. It's okay. It's okay. We can do that. So that's who I am. That's what I want. And then we need to talk about, what do you want? Well, I would hope we want the same things. You would like to know more about the real estate game. I'd like to tell you more about it, at least what I've learned. It has not been easy. It has not been easy to be John Schenk. I did it again. I talked about myself in the third person, but I have had some stellar successes in being a real estate broker, and I've had amazing failures as well. And I don't know if you want that kind of honesty. I don't know. I know that when I'm looking for something on Google, when I'm looking for something on YouTube, I want to have already biased the question so that I get the answer that I want. What do you mean by that? Well, let's just do something in real estate. How about this? Can I use my 401k retirement to flip homes? I mean, so you've already assumed that you're going to. You just want someone to say yes. You've already biased the question. I try to provide, something to where if you ask a question, it's not already biased towards one way or another. Now, I'm not perfect. I definitely think differently about real estate brokerages and real estate agencies than maybe a regular person who's not involved in real estate would think. I definitely feel like I've been through that. But yeah, we should hang out. We should talk. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. I don't do it enough, but I really should set the agenda for the night so that you know what we're going to talk about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is I showed some houses yesterday. We'll just talk about some general things that I saw, things that may have been good, things that may have been bad. We're going to move on to a fascinating article in the New York Post that discusses Google's searches and whether or not that's portending to something down the road. If that's our hint. We should get to another article about housing affordability, and maybe the statistics or the way that one uses the affordability index is incorrect. And then after that, I'm not quite sure, but those are my plans. That's what I plan to do, and I plan to bring you with me. So that being said, let's get started. Had a strange weekend. I don't know if I talked about this on Friday, but on Friday I had a showing for a couple that lives in Colorado. And so I did a video of it and I sent it to them. And that was Friday. They did not end up having an interest in making an offer on the house, not because of my house tour, but because I happened to show in the house tour that the neighbors were hoarders. that somehow didn't make it into the listing pictures. And to be honest with you, I went around and around with myself on this one. Do you try to live stream, or do you try to, FaceTime with your sellers in a different state? Or do you just provide a video of a walkthrough, the type in which you would do if you were going through the house as a buyer or with the help of an agent? And so I chose the second. Well, why did I choose that? Well, first of all, I'm more comfortable with video. Second of all, the reception in some of the homes in St. Louis and in the Tudor homes in South City, those bricks and plaster are thick, and your reception to be able to FaceTime someone across the country, not so great. You're going to be getting a bunch of pixelation, and I don't know that that's the best way to do a showing in the first place, because it's like, say you're in the house and the potential buyer's like, hey, can you go check out the bathroom? Well, yes, I can. And then they say, well, can you check out the bedroom? Well, yes, I can. Well, what if the bedroom and the bathroom aren't anywhere near each other? And now you're going back and forth between places. I believe that if you're not careful on a FaceTime, you're just going to get a bunch of pixelated mess. You're going to have your buyer who isn't walking, who isn't there, tiring you out, because they'll be like, go up the stairs, and so you walk up the stairs. It's like you're a trained monkey, and I don't really want to do that, and so I don't do it. I would prefer a video because, number one, the video is clearer. Number two, I already know what I do is I walk through the house once. I can pretty much pick up probably 95% of what's going on with the house, so that when I do a video, I can quickly go from room to room based on the photos of the listing and comparing that to what I'm actually seeing. I can show that difference to my buyers across the country. And so anyway, it didn't work out on that house. Should I have tried to sell my buyers on the home? No. And that's one, we'll just branch off to the side for a minute. That's one thing that you're not going to get from me that you may want from another agent. What I would do is I will go and show a house. Okay. And I will point out the things that I see that you may not be thinking about, as far as, how old are the systems? What is the age of the roof? Does it look decent? Are there any water leaks in the ceiling? You wouldn't know if there's water leaks in the ceiling if you never look at it. So these kinds of things are stuff that I pay attention to. What is the quality of the remodel? What is the quality of, the house? Are the floors beat to the point where you're going to have to replace them? These are the things that I'm paying attention to. If you're looking for like the color of the walls, if you're like, oh, that couch over there fits so great in that space, I'm not the agent for you, and I never will be. I'll never forget, this summer, we were sitting in the basement of a house with my buyers, and another group came through, and this agent was just like, oh, look at these wonderful stairs. They were wooden stairs to a basement. There's nothing wonderful about them. They were made of 2x4s 50, 60 years ago. There's nothing interesting about that. And then he walked by and he's like, oh, look at this. Isn't it wonderful to have a bathroom? Everyone likes to have a bathroom in the basement. And the bathrooms was from 1950. It was just some guy just talking all this stuff about a house. And if those people liked it, that's great. But my buyers were like, this is stupid. Thank God you're not that guy. We wouldn't be working together. And so I do appreciate it. I do think I'm on the right track. But who knows? Anyway, showed that house on Friday, showed them all the things. They said, no, we're not interested. So I had 2 showings on Saturday. So let's get into those. The first showing, what you may not realize in St. Louis right now is that the weather has cooled down quite a bit. It had been 100 degrees for like weeks on end with no rain. Then we got a ton of rain, flooded things. A lot of listings right now are coming out with disclosures like, well, we had basement water issues for the first time ever in our house because of the record rainfalls. And so are we discounting that? I believe so. But most of those houses, if it rains any week, there's water trickling through the basement. Let's be honest. So anyway, the house was in University City. And I want to go through this because the same theme emerged through both showings on Saturday. Okay, so I was showing a set of buyers a house in University City to start. Asking price of the home was over $400,000. that's not a big deal there. I mean, you could easily see houses for $700,000 and $800,000 in University City, no problem, and some even more. And you can also see lower houses, lower price houses. So it's a very mixed area. But anyway, my buyers are from University City. They currently reside in University City. And so this wouldn't be that far of a, move for them, but they're in a situation where their home is not adequate for them. It never did really make sense for them at all, in fact. And they'd never bought a house together before. The husband had just moved into the wife's home after he sold his when they got married. So there was never ever like a group decision on purchasing a home. So they really want that experience. Now, what's wrong with their home? What makes it so that they can't get a house? Well, the thing that really messes with them is their home is fine on the first floor. It's a story and a half. The second story, you've got this nice work area, but there's no bathroom. And so as with the pandemic, people are working from home. You've got the situation where it's like, I'm working from home, but I have to go downstairs to use the bathroom every time. I mean, it's just not ideal. Plus the house is a little bit on the small side. The kitchen, they like to cook. They like to be in the kitchen with their friends, and the kitchen is small. These two things aren't going to get fixed in this house where it would make any sense. They're just going to end up spending a lot of money. And by the time they do that, they'd be better off getting a different house. And so the first house, did it solve those questions? Well, it was significantly bigger. And the basement was fine. The upstairs was finished, but the problem with the upstairs is that you couldn't really get a bed to fit up there, a king size bed. It didn't make any sense. And so that was the issue with that home. Even if they would have wanted to buy it, they weren't going to have success because it still had this limitation that they were looking for. So anyway, that was an issue. Also, the second part of it that was the bigger issue is the week before they had looked at a house in University City, and the asking price on that home was $350,000, and they were willing to make an offer on that home. Now, while they were willing to make an offer on that home, I was a little bit hesitant for them. I knew we were going to have to come in over asking with this particular home. I knew that it was going to be like, how should I put it? It was going to be a very expensive home for the area. Like, you never want to buy the most expensive house on the block, and you never want to buy the worst house on the block. You kind of always want to be in the middle. If they would have bought this house, it would have been the most expensive house on the block. They're at $350,000. It was going to go for what, $365, $370, and honestly, that neighborhood was like $315 tops. So they decided not to write an offer. But the thing is, what the theme is, and what I wanted to tell you first is always, if you're going to go out and buy a house, always work with an agent that's willing to show you many homes in a specific location. Why? It's so that you can get a good sense of what a house should sell for in that area. I've gone back and forth with this in my own mind because it's how I do things. And because I've been doing this for a long time, I think that it's just obvious to me, but it may not be obvious to people starting out. I don't want my buyers having buyer's remorse. One of the things that happens is if you sign on with the wrong agent, and they show you 3 houses, and they say which one are you going to make an offer on? You have no context from which to start from. Now you say, well, if I choose a neighborhood expert, they're going to guide me. Well, there are very few in St. Louis, very few neighborhood experts that aren't lazy. So the idea that you're going to find this house and the neighborhood expert's going to say, oh yeah, this is a perfect deal at this price. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You need to go look at a lot of houses as a buyer, and you need to look in the same area. So now my buyers had been to this home for $350. Okay. They know after being through it that the house may sell for $360, $365. Now, the question they had to answer was, is the house we saw over $400,000? Was that house, $60,000 better than the house they looked at the week before? It's a comparison. Is it or isn't it? What do we got here? And you say, well, John, there's so many different variables. I agree with that. Like, for instance, this kitchen had been redone. Okay. The other house, the kitchen had not been redone. The cabinets had been painted probably just before it got listed. And it didn't really fit very well. So there was a difference there. Was it a $60,000 difference? No, it wasn't. It's, you get to the point where you understand these things. So when my buyers went through it and it was over 400, they compared it to the house that they looked at the weekend before. And they said, look, we don't think that this neighborhood, deserves the premium. We don't think that this neighborhood or this house deserves a premium over the house we looked at last week. That's probably going to be selling between 360 and 370. So we will not be making an offer on this house. It's a very nice house, but it's not our house. It's not the one for us, for the reasons why we just talked about. Now, do I feel bad that they didn't make an offer on the house? No. I don't want to work with people that number one, either make offers and they're not serious. Like, so from the buyer side, like, if we're writing offers and you're cutting in like $20,000 and $30,000 below asking in a hot market, you're not serious. So I don't want to do that. And then the other thing is I'm not one to tell you like, hey, this is a great idea to buy this particular house. I'll say I agree that what you're saying makes sense. I want you to enjoy the house. I want you to say, this is the house we want, John. We've seen all the others and this is the one. That's what I want. That's what I want. And I think it's possible. So then after that house, I showed a house in what I will call the Bevo area of St. Louis City. Why do I call it the Bevo area? Well, it's next to Bevo Mill. If you don't know about Bevo Mill, you should look it up. It's a very fascinating St. Louis thing. You should look it up. I'm not going to talk about it tonight. But anyway, this is a young couple. I've been working with them for over 6 months, probably a year now. And we've put in offers on houses and we've not gotten them. Now, they've stayed within one particular zip code for the most part, and they've stayed within one particular price range for the most part. So let's just say their price range is between $150 and $175. Now you say, well, John, $25,000 is a lot. It's really not. It's not with houses. It's just not. So I'm not all that upset about that. But anyway, if I do catch that fly that keeps flying in, I'm gonna be like thrilled. Anyway, we walk through this house. Things that I would say are not good. Number one, when you look outside at the garage and it's attached to the next door garage with like a breezeway, and that house is burnt down, like the garage is burnt out. That's not a good sign. Next, when you walk in the house, everything looks good. You go to the kitchen and you walk down the hallway, and all of a sudden you have to move your shoulders to get through the hallway because it's so narrow. Or then you try to go upstairs and the same thing happens. But then you try to go downstairs and you are successful and the house is clean except for you smell a very putrid combination of vanilla air freshener and cat piss. I mean, like, what were we doing here? Like, ugh. So we were downstairs and the smell was so bad that my buyer's like, can we just leave this space? I mean, we can talk, but let's just get out of here. And I was like, absolutely. I want out as well. In fact, I might have even said I want out. I might have been the one, because as I've gotten older, and I've told you about the shower houses, now that I got cat piss and vanilla smell, I'm going to go take a shower when I get home. And that's really at this point all I want to do. We're not making an offer on this. No one can possibly be serious and think we're going to buy a house that smells like this for this price. Now, these buyers are very well informed. They've seen many, many houses in this zip code for this asking price. And they told me immediately, they said, John, we can buy a better house than this at this price. Look at that. They knew themselves. Isn't that fantastic? I see the fly, and he's right in front of me, and I'm going to try and get him because he's really annoying. but it's on my screen. So let's see here. I got a receipt. Oh, he flew off. He flew off. Anyway, it's a fly. At least it's not a gnat. Normally there's a gnat that flies around. And how the fly decides to fly downstairs to get me, I have no idea. Why can't they bother the kids upstairs? Anyway, so yeah, they were informed though. And they were like, we can't make an offer on this house in good conscience because we know there's better houses out there. This is all I would want as a buyer's agent. I'm being totally honest with you. This is all I want as a buyer's agent, for my buyers to be so well versed in the marketplace that I've shown them and I've taught them so much in the marketplace that they can make their own decisions on pricing. They can make their own decisions on, whether or not they're going to put an offer in on a house. And then, they just work with me in the sense. And you say, well, John, why do we need you? Why do we need you as an agent to find a house? Number one, it's pretty much free. I mean, the listing agent is paying for me to bring a buyer to them. That's number one. Number two, what makes you think you're some sort of expert in this particular field that you would want to take a chance? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? And number three, I think I'm a pretty good guy. I think I'd be fun to hang out with when I'm going to go look at houses. I know that we have a lot of laughs when I work with my buyers and sellers because I try to keep things fun and interesting. And we try not to be depressing and boring and sad. So anyway, that was the two showings. Now, after that, I cut the grass at the house. After that, I made dinner. And after that, I got tired. And I didn't want to live stream last night. As I say tired, you can see what happens. I'm tired tonight. I talked with... I have a listing agent that I'm doing a deal with. I talked with him yesterday and I said, I think I'd like to take Sunday off. I don't think I want to be doing a whole lot. And my buyers kind of helped me with that. No one asked to go see houses. So we didn't go. So let's get into some of the things we were talking about today. Let's get into the article. First of all, here we go. Let me get the share screen set up. Bam. Let me go back. Now, let me just ask you, what would you do? What do you do if you know that you're reading the New York Post and it says Google searches for sell my home fast spiked 2,750%? Does that mean that the housing market is just falling apart at the seams? I don't know. It's not right now in St. Louis, but maybe it's going to. Let's get into the article and take a look. It says Google searches for sell my home fast spiked 2,750%. Now, I don't have access to Google search spikes, so I don't even know how they got this information, but let's see if we can get through it. So it says, within hours of the latest GDP report on Thursday, which raised fears that the United States could be entering a recession. Well, we've known we're in a recession by definition. Online search volume for sell my home fast spiked a whopping 2,750%. Now, sell my home fast isn't going to be a search term that's going to get you me. Sell my home fast is a term for house flippers, basically, and investors, like the Open Doors and the mom and pop, places, Zillow, iBuyers when they used to exist. Anyway, if you got to sell your house fast, you're probably not looking for an agent. Why do I say that? Well, I can list a home. I need a week. I need a week from when we sign the paperwork to list the house. Why? Well, that's the preparation. First of all, I need to take pictures. Second, I need to write up the listing. Third, I need to get video. I'm not doing all those things by myself. I have professionals that do those things, but they're not just going to jump when I say jump. So it takes about a week. And then when we do closings here in St. Louis, at least, if it's not an all cash deal, it's probably going to take 30 days to close. So if you can't handle 40 days probably not going to do very well on listing the house. Probably not going to sell the home fast. It just depends on what you think fast is. But let's continue. It says, shortly after the Commerce Department released the report on July 28th, revealing that the economy showed negative growth for a second straight quarter, shrinking by an annual pace of 0.9%. Home sellers hoping for higher housing prices to continue are now concerned. Interesting. It says a study by luxury real estate brokerage Ruby Home analyzed data from Google Trends for the week of July 25th to July 29th to see how customers would react to the news in real time. Spike in the search terms above show that consumers are on edge right now. The founder and CEO of Ruby Home told the Post, it's a double whammy. The combination of rising interest rates and contracting GDP fuels consumer uncertainty about home prices. Now, look, just pulling this up on Google, I mean, anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. And so you can see it's really high. But the way they do this in Google, it's not like they're giving you a percentage, but they're not giving you an actual number. And I've noticed this happens a lot. Like, so anytime you have like someone passing away, it seems to always garner like a lot of searches. So sell my home fast. While it's going up 2,750% higher than before, be careful with what you're, be careful for what you're extrapolating from numbers on a Google search. The idea that it says spike in the search terms above shows that the consumers are on edge right now. Are they? Are they? It's almost like you have an opinion. I'm not criticizing, but it's almost like you have an opinion and you're using data to justify it rather than the data speaking, rather than the data having its own narrative. All we know is that it spiked. We know that. We don't know why. You're assuming that's the reason. It says real estate brokers see the effects of the changing sentiment. At Ruby Home, we've seen a slowdown in luxury home and second purchases as wealthier individuals take a wait and see approach. I mean, that's them. In St. Louis, it hasn't been that way. Let's just talk about a deal that we were working on this weekend. My colleague and I saw a house. The comps indicated, let's say, $500,000. Last house to sell in the neighborhood was $500,000. My buyer, or my company buyer, came in at $65,000 over asking with a great offer, and they didn't even get the house. So, and the person that we're representing, I feel is like they're pretty wealthy because they're going to buy in cash. So, I mean, I realize that there's different levels of wealth, but I mean, anyway, it says, meanwhile, search volume for what does a recession mean for me also simultaneously spiked a massive 1,900%. So, but why would sell my house fast, be correlated with what does a recession mean for me? The thing that, like, I love Google, I love YouTube, I love all these programs, I love all this software. But one thing I've gotten to know over the years is there's these things that I would like to say they're called marketing channels. And or marketing segments. And what do I mean by that? Well, like, we assume that because we can measure our advertising spend and we can somehow measure the eyeballs on that spend, that we can somehow correlate, some sort of success or some sort of visibility. But that's not necessarily true. What do I mean by that? So let's just say I send out a postcard, to every neighbor in my neighborhood. And I've done that. The differences in those people You're going to get old people, young people, people with families, people without families, people with nice houses, people with bad houses. I mean, all the way across the board. Okay. Just so many different variables. Okay. In that variable, you're going to get maybe 20 to 30% of people who've never searched for anything online. So those people would never see your advertising. Similarly, in this case, it's not enough to know that the percentages are higher to me, because we don't know the demographics of the people that are looking. I mean, if it's a 13-year-old looking, what does a recession mean for me? It's probably not related to housing, right? Because they can't buy a house yet. And the whole idea of sell my home fast, all we know is that it's a somewhat what I would call technologically savvy individual because they're using YouTube or because they're using Google. And that doesn't mean that they are, but it doesn't tell us as much as I believe this is. So it says the silver lining today is that we're not seeing 30 bidders on mid-market homes, and there's more inventory on the market than during the pandemic. The silver lining today, I would agree that there's not always 30 offers. It's still a lot. So anyway, I'm a little confused. It says, according to the real estate brokerage Redfin, analysis showed that the U.S. housing market has slowed considerably now this is another thing I don't know. It says due to decades high inflation and soaring interest rates, which has put many would-be home buyers on the rental market. This time last year, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 2.8%. Now it's averaged a significant 5.3%. And buyers who poured into popular migration destinations at the height of the pandemic are likely to see price declines in those overheated markets. Okay, so what I would say is this. I think this is mine. I think this is my background, first of all. Let's see. It is not. I don't know. It's close. Number one. Let's go here. Okay, so number one, if you bought a home during the pandemic, were you planning on leaving that home after the pandemic was over? That would indicate a level of wealth that I don't think is in the majority. One of the things, like I'm representing buyers right now that are closing this month, a number of them. We've talked about, hey, the first year your house value may go down, and they always tell me, like, John, I'm not moving out the first year. We're hoping to stay here for 5 years, for 10 years, for the rest of our lives. We don't care. We really don't. We don't care if the market goes down. What do we care? That's the approach to have. I don't know how you could ever buy a house and say, oh, well, it could go down in price. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I certainly don't. I mean, things that have happened in my lifetime don't make any sense to me now anyway. If you ask me to provide examples, I'm not going to provide examples tonight. I'm just not. But I mean, I think we've talked about it in the past. I think that we are on the same page, hopefully. I don't agree with this article because of for the reasons I've explained. I don't believe that the searches that they're quoting or referencing are in any way intertwined. And sell my home fast, like I said, for me is you're in a different spot. I don't think it's because of the quote unquote recession. Right now this is just me. Let's just go over the argument, and then this is not my argument. This is not the one that I brought to the table. The argument is that employment has not gone down because people can't afford to work based on one job, that they have an extra job on the side. And so that inflates the labor market numbers. I don't know if that's true. This is what I read. If that were the case, then you could definitely see a recession, because what if those people then can't find another job and they get stuck doing one job? That I can understand the loss of income combined with high inflation I can see causing an issue. Okay. But we have not seen the deteriorations in jobs that we need to see before we can really hold on to our hats and say, this is not a good situation. Like, what would it take for us to have, 11% unemployment like it was when I was in the mid 90s or during the second Bush or the first Bush years? I don't know. But I mean, it wouldn't be a good thing. Wouldn't be a good thing. So anyway, that's that article. I don't know what to make of it. Like I said, I don't think what I see versus what they are showing are the same. I don't see it. Can house prices go down? Absolutely. Are people using fire sale methods to sell? I wouldn't say that. I will say this. In the past 2 to 3 weeks, I've seen people just throw stuff on the market because they know the market's changing and they just want to be done with the house. They waited too long. They kept thinking it was going to keep going up forever. And right now it's kind of like we're stuck. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Let me just go here. Wrong one. Here we go. Okay, so we're there. I'm going to go to the next article now. My mouse is a little sticky tonight. This next one here. We're going to have to talk about this slowly. We're going to have to really kind of, how do I put it? We're going to have to kind of take it all in, if that makes any sense. I'm not going to just be able to breeze over it because the points are a little bit more nuanced. Now, I think a reasonable question, can we, from the first article in this article, form an opinion? Absolutely. Is it the right one? I don't know. It says, housing affordability index drops to the lowest rate since 1989. It's still way too high. National Association of Realtors says affordability dropped to 98.5% in June, the lowest since 1989. So we're talking about June numbers. It is August. You say, let's fix this problem. John, why are the numbers so far away? Like, why don't we have instant numbers? Well, it takes time to record everything. So like the July numbers aren't even out yet. It's the 14th of August. In St. Louis, August was a pretty stout month, so I don't know that it's going to change much. But let's just look at this. So I want you to read, I want you to know about this graph because it's important. Okay, so the monthly average mortgage rate from 2021 July is 2.87. That's gone to 5.41. I will accept that as true. I actually believe that it was up past 6%, but it wasn't for the entire week. And they just do it on a weekly average. So that's fine. So that's the mortgage rate. Here is the housing affordability index. And what I want you to understand about the housing affordability index is that it's based off of 100. Okay. And that above 100 means that it's more affordable. And when it's below 100, it means it's less affordable. It doesn't seem intuitive to me that it seems backwards. It seems like if a house was more affordable, it would be higher. And if it was less affordable, it'd be lower. Wait a minute. Did I just say that and it makes sense? Since I'm the only one on the live stream, let me go back and do this again. It seems like housing affordability, it seems like it should be the opposite. It seems like it should be lower now. And then if it's really, really affordable, it should be higher, but it's not. It's the reverse. So let's do this one more time. The housing affordability, anything over 100 is considered good. Anything below 100 is not considered good. It's considered bad. As evidenced by this chart. It says housing affordability in June was the worst since 1989. The Wall Street Journal reports affordability in June was the worst since 1989. I didn't read this article. It's Wall Street Journal. It's probably behind a paywall, and I probably don't want to click on it. So it says it was more expensive to buy. This is quoting from the Wall Street Journal. It's more expensive to buy a U.S. home in June than it has been for any month in more than 3 decades. As record high home prices collided with a surge in mortgage rates, The National Association of Realtors Housing Affordability Index, which factors in family incomes, mortgage rates, and the sales prices for existing single-family homes, fell to 98.5% in June. The association said Friday that marked the lowest level since June of 1989, when the index stood at 98.3%. Now, let's talk about this from my perspective as one who's lived a long life. I'm just going to be honest with you. I feel like I've been blessed. There have been economic booms and busts the entire time I've been alive. Is it normal? I don't know, but there just have been. And one of the things that I saw in this market reminded me of the 2002 to 2007 market, in that there was this, first of all, we had a commodities squeeze. So if you remember, lumber was problematic. Back then, it was cement and copper that was problematic. So we had that. And then we had a ramp up in prices for homes. It also seemed like there was a lot of anecdotal activity. So your friend was buying a house, or your cousin was buying a house. Someone was buying a house. Someone was in the market. You didn't have a time where no one was in the market. Number three, it seems like back then people were really hurting. Okay. And just like now, it seems like people are hurting, but you don't see it because so many other people are doing so well. But the divergence for me, the thing that is weird about this change, I'll just explain it to you like this. There were so many speculators in the market in 2007, 2008, that it actually impacted the amount of vacancies in homes was higher because it was all investors buying. These were not, the people that were buying were not buying them to occupy them, or they were fixing them up and they weren't occupying them. They were actually just flipping them. And so when people couldn't buy them anymore, there was just all this inventory. This time, I've been told that there's all this demand and that that's not happening. I can't prove that. I have no idea. I know a few things. One, when I'm trying to show houses, like for instance, I was working with a couple and like there was only maybe 4 or 3 houses on the market for an entire zip code after a weekend. Like there was only 4 or 3 left, and there were none for a zip code after 7 days. That had never happened in my career. There's always these dog houses that stay on the market forever. And that wasn't happening. That was a clue that something's off. That was different than I remember in 2009. Also, while there was problems with materials and individual commodities spiking in price, specifically copper and cement, we didn't have the fuel crazy prices. We didn't have the grocery crazy prices. We didn't have a graphics card shortage. We didn't have supply chain issues. We didn't have a chip shortage. We didn't have an automobile shortage. All of these things dramatically increasing the price of goods. The inflation that we're experiencing now has been like nothing I've ever seen in my lifetime. 45 years roaming the earth, this is the first time where I've seen inflation get out of hand and the government not do anything at all to solve inflation, no matter how many bills designed to reward their constituents, their lobby constituents, naming conventions. No matter how many of those, no matter how many Inflation Reduction Acts, American Jobs Acts, all that bullshit with fake titles, nothing, I've seen nothing that the government's done to slow down the runaway train that is inflation. And so what should happen in theory? We have inflation, we have job losses, we have people that because they can't afford the inflated goods, can't be buying houses, and therefore that should cause the market to come crashing down. I don't know. Let's continue with the article, though. It says the Housing Affordability Index. Excuse me. It says the National Association of Realtors Housing Affordability Index is based on a median income data current through 2017 projected forward. Only 13 months of data is available on FRED, the St. Louis Fed repository. Affordability is based on whether the median family earns enough income to qualify for a 30-year fixed mortgage loan on the median single-family home without spending more than 25% of the income on payment for principal and index. An index value of 100,000 or 100 means that a family with the median income has exactly enough income to qualify for a mortgage on a median price home. An index above 100 means a median family has more than enough income to qualify for a mortgage loan on a median price home, assuming a 20% down payment, which very few people ever do. Inquiring minds may wish to look at the National Association of Realtors Housing Affordability Index calculation. Curiously, the National Association concludes that the median household can nearly always afford the median price home. Do you believe that? More importantly, even if accurate, so what? The median person who can afford a home and wants a home probably already has a home. This is a fair criticism. This is a fair criticism. I can't afford the median home price at $389 or $351. I can't. I'm just saying. I mean, I might be unique. Anyway, I had a thing happen. Anyway, in terms of new and existing home sales, what matters is what a buyer who does not have a home but wants a home is willing to pay and can pay. It says the first time buyer index for 2022 quarter two fell to 68, assuming a starter home price of $351,500. Can a 68% of would-be buyers afford and find a $351,500 home in a neighborhood in which they want to live? 68% is a much more reasonable number than the overall 98.5% calculation, but that still strikes me as too high. Do you think that? Do you think that there's 68% of buyers currently? By the way, the first-time buyer thing is totally a silly thing to me. If you were married and got divorced, you're now a first-time home buyer. Both of you are. I mean, that alone makes it, questionable. If your boyfriend buys a house the first time, okay, they're a first-time home buyer, and you decide to buy the second house, then you're a first-time home buyer. Doesn't make any sense. It says, I have not updated my full set Case-Shiller home price charts for a while, but that chart is current to the May data. Okay. The Case-Shiller lags by a few months, so it's even worse than shown. I agree with that. It's bad. The pre-pandemic index was at 212 and now it's at 306. That's a 44% jump with real median wage declining, property taxes soaring, food soaring, and energy soaring. Yet the National Association of Realtors says that median overall affordability has declined to the 98.5% level. Yeah, right. Meanwhile, rent and food keep rising, and the price of rent will be sticky. Gasoline is more dependent on recession and global supply chains. It says food prices rise most since February of 1979. For more on the price of fuel, for more on rent, for more on producer prices. He's got us all the stuff written down. That's very nice. It says a spotlight on Fed silliness. The Fed has blown 3 consecutive bubbles, trying to produce 2% consumer inflation while openly promoting raging bubbles in assets, especially housing. I agree with this. I mean, this is just, it's bad. It's bad. So, anyway, let me move on. I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to, I don't know. I think I'm not going to do anymore. I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to go right back to here. I think those were the two articles for tonight. I think I'm okay with that. I got to get back to the screen. All right. So what did we learn tonight? Well, we learned that home showings are, here's what we learned. If you're a buyer and you look at a bunch of houses, then you should have a better idea on pricing. You should be more confident in making offers. You shouldn't deal with buyer's remorse. You shouldn't have to, because you've seen plenty of homes in a particular area. And we've seen that with my buyers, that's been the case, at least for this weekend. Then we moved to an article about Google search. And do we believe that because the search was up for 2,750%, that somehow portends to the housing market as a whole? I don't think so. I don't think people are sitting there typing in "sell my home fast" because they're in a bad spot. I really don't. So that's not good. And then the next article is that it seems like, even though house pricing in the index seems to indicate that things are very expensive, and it's true, but it's probably even worse that the index it's not showing as big of a problem as there really is. Those are the three things we really honed in on today. For tomorrow, I have to go to a home inspection. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Do I have anything else that's of interest? I don't think so. So with that out of the way, I will check in with you tomorrow. I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will check you on the next one.